Hello and welcome back to the DayLuna Human Design Podcast with your hosts, Dana and Shayna. Today we are having a human design nerdy deep dive conversation with a special guest, another human design and Gene Keys guide, Danielle Eyman. And this is a really fun conversation because we go deep into the actual felt energetics of following your design and making bold moves that are going to up-level your life. We talk a lot about quantum leaping, about what is necessary to really choose to come into the highest expression of your life purpose. And Danielle is a manifesting generator, and she has so much wisdom to share in this about the energy of living in response and what that looks like as a manifesting generator. She even talks about kind of like time bending and efficiency. So we go really deep in this conversation. It's really fun and really juicy.
Yes. So Danielle is a retired registered nurse turned entrepreneur, and she's driven by the transformative power of human design, which obviously for us, we loved. We love talking about human design, and we really resonate on the same frequency about how we communicate human design, which is just so amazing and fun to get to connect. She leverages the deep insights revealed in human design charts, and she's been able to scale her own business to an extraordinary $1.2 million in just 18 months. What's more is that this isn't just a one-time success story, it's a milestone, and she's consistently achieved year after year. And she really is helping people get paid and make money. So her mission is not just about hitting big numbers, it's about achieving sustainable growth in a way that feels authentic and aligned. Her clients have seen remarkable transformations in their businesses, achieving significant income increases without falling into the trap of burnout. She uses strategies tailored to their unique human design charts, and they've attracted dream clients, people who don't just see the value in their offerings, but are genuinely excited to invest their vision. So Danielle's amazing. We really love the work that she's doing. And this conversation was definitely one of those inspiring, exciting, juiced up, sacral, fun conversations.
Okay, so without further ado, let's welcome on our guest for today, Danielle Eyman. We had the pleasure of meeting you on your podcast, and we've been looking forward to having this conversation with you here in this space because we just resonate with you. We love your energy and your wisdom and your medicine. So thank you so much for being here. We're so grateful to have this conversation. I'd love to just start out by saying, how are you feeling today? How are you doing?
Oh my gosh, I'm so grateful to be here, and I am feeling very lit up. That's how I'm feeling. Yeah, we've gotten some really cool things going on behind the scenes that you just can't contain. And you're just so excited. So that's where I am. I call it Disneyland energy.
Oh, I love that.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
I love a sacral Disneyland energy vibe. It's so infectious. Honestly, from the moment we got on the call, I'm like, oh, I needed this little boosty of your energy. It feels so good.
Good. Well, I'm glad. Yeah, I'm very aware that I can be a little much for people. So I have to be around the right people, to really lean into it and just go with it. So it's a
full
lot of
sparkle, full shine. Well, we love it and appreciate it here because we always say, I mean, it's so cool to feel your energy connection with other people and whatever their energy is. Like when we're all just projectors, that's a really fun energy and a projector party, but it's so different than when we get to be in a space with a manifesting generator. Like we just feel so charged up and excited, and it just adds such a fun, unique flavor. So we love that you're coming in with such a lit up sacral. It's a blessing to us and to everyone listening. So thank you. And yeah, I'd love to just kind of right off the bat, have you introduce how you got into the human design and Gene Keys space. Like what was the transition like for you? Because I know you were sharing before we got on this call that before you navigated into this work, you were in nursing. Is that right? So it's kind of a big jump. I'd love to just hear about the origin of what brought you into this work.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a really hard time in my life because I was 24 years, I was a registered nurse.
Wow.
So I was there like my whole adult life. And you think like, oh, I'm going to get this career. Everyone's always going to need a nurse. And I'm always going to have a paycheck. And I'm always just going to be financially secure. And it ended up getting pretty rough with the hospital that I was working with. I don't need to go into details, but I ended up in a lawsuit. And it went on for so long. And I found human design. I just heard someone mention it on a podcast. And I thought, I think that was totally a one line. I just went, what is that? I need to figure out what that is. And I dove all the way in. Back then, this is like 10 years ago. There was just a few YouTube videos and like a couple of books. There wasn't really a lot of like people like us that are like in it and living it and telling you, yes, this is how it works. So I was just going, well, I'm just going to start making decisions according to my sacral. And hopefully I know what my sacral is actually feeling like. And I remember one day my lawyer was like, well, I mean, unless you want to take a second out on your house and like really go for it, we're just kind of done here. And I just knew it was a no, we were done. And I was just hanging up my career forever. And it was just in that moment, I felt this relief come over me, even though there was so much uncertainty and I had no idea like how I was going to pay my house payment. I just was like, I'm just done. I'm just letting it go. And I'm just allowing it to be a chapter in my life, and I'm closing it down. We'll see. Hopefully everything works out. And I just started giving human design readings to all of my friends because I was like, you guys need to know all of this stuff. And one thing led to another, and I started charging more and more. And then I was doing coaching retainers, and then I went to 1.2 million in less than 18 months. And I was like, whoa, like, why didn't I do this sooner?
Yeah.
You always wish that you were like, when you really get into it, you're like, I wish that we were raised with this. Like, I wish that we were taught who we were. It would just clean so much up. But it taught me, being a nurse taught me everything I needed to know for what I'm doing now. So, it all works out perfectly. But at the time when you're making those decisions, you feel like you're jumping off a cliff.
Yeah, truly. You really do. And it's like, it gets easier like the more cliffs you jump, right? You're like, okay, but it still is, it's a constant experiment, right? And constant showing up with trust and listening and tuning in. I'm so curious, in those 18 months that you were like, I mean, obviously that's, I'm assuming, significantly more than you would really make as a nurse.
Oh my gosh.
Right. I'm just so curious how those 18 months were and how that growth happened. I know you help people with overcoming money blocks and, really achieving those types of goals. So I'm just curious how those 18 months were for you.
Yeah. I mean, I remember specifically, I was like, okay, I have a blank slate. I can literally create the life I want to create. The past is the past. And I made a decision to commit to following my lit up energy, this energy that just felt more enthusiasm towards something that, I wanted to do instead of what somebody told me to do. So I just decided to commit to what lit me up. And I was doing that on a daily basis. And the more I did that, the more people, I really got to know what it feels like to be an MG that attracts in instead of having to like force your way to go get things done. And that was a real paradigm shift for me because I was always the one out there trying to get things done and forcing things to happen. And I just realized I was attracting opportunities. So I followed those opportunities, right? And some of them I had to pay a lot of money for. Some of them were just very natural and handed to me. But all of them supported me in really just leaning into becoming more of me. So the first thing I did, and I teach everybody this, is like, we have to give ourselves permission to allow this chart to work for us. This is our energetic design. It's like a divine appointment. It's how I see it. And I just was like, I have nothing to lose. Like, I've already lost pretty much everything. I'm going for it. There's a reason this was brought to me. And it just worked. And it always just worked. It wasn't like some days it worked and some days it didn't. It was like, no, when I really follow who I am, who I believe I am, I'm giving myself permission to actually accomplish the things that I want to accomplish. So I gave myself permission, really, to commit.
Yeah. I love that story because I feel like it's really important for people to hear the faith the courage, the bravery that it takes to actually follow your strategy and authority. Like we talk all day long about how important it is to be aligning yourself with your true energetic way of moving through the world, to be making those decisions with your authority. But it's like you have to give yourself permission to actually go for it and to move into the unknown. And it's such an incredible blessing to know exactly how you're designed to make decisions, exactly how you're designed to find your truth. But there's also going to be the other side of that is like, can you surrender? Even though you found this new empowerment, and that's like so beautiful to have something powerful that you can choose. On the other side of that, and in the same breath, is this like surrender, faith, going for it, all of that. And I think it's really helpful to hear stories where people have done that. And I feel like when we started DayLuna and moved into the human design space, it was the same for us. It was a massive leap of faith, but it just felt so exciting and right and fun and aligned, all of the things. We had so much correct energy, so many invitations, all of that, since both of us are projectors. And, you know, it's like when people ask us, like, what's the first thing that you would say when it comes to like building your dream business or finding your dream career or whatever? It's like, well, first of all, there has to be that alignment. Otherwise, all of the action that you're taking, you know, could kind of fall flat at some point, or you'll put in so much effort. So there has to be that alignment, but then there has to be that courage, that bravery, giving yourself permission to actually go for it. So I think it's really powerful to hear stories where people have done that and to see the effects of it, to see the proof of that aligned flow.
Yeah. I mean, it really was like, I remember I was learning how to sell. And I was like, because if I want to actually replace my nurse's salary, then I'm going to have to charge more than $55 for human design reading.
Yeah.
You know? So I'm like, so selling scared me. There was all this conditioning around what sales was and, you know, exchanging money for all these things. And I was like, I don't even know where to start. But I thought, I got to learn how to sell. And so I joined this program to learn how to sell. And I was like, I can make this work with decision making. And so it's in alignment for both people. Like, what a gift. And I made one post in a group and it sold out my offer for the year. Like, that's the gift of alignment. It wasn't like I was trying. You know, it wasn't like, let me write the perfect post with the perfect hook and the perfect call to, it was none of that. It was just, I'm showing up and being me and I'm sharing what's actually working over here, and boom, everything, you know?
I love it. It's so beautiful because I feel like a lot of, even like my personal friends in my community, I have so many friends who are really magical people, who are really talented and really have a heart that wants to help heal the world. And they just have so much deconditioning to do around sales specifically. Like they just feel like there's no possible way for an offering to truly be symbiotic, or for, you know, having wealth in your life for that to be symbiotic, because they just haven't seen a lot of examples of it. And, you know, these are people who are deeply empathetic and caring and have so much to offer, but there tends to be such a block for many of us in that realm. And I love that this is something that you help people decondition with, like around making money, all of that. And you have the channel of money in your chart. And, you know, you mentioned with being a nurse that there was this idea for you, like, okay, I want to have stability. I want to have a good income. I want to have job security. And I'm assuming that a lot of that did come from your channel of money, this unconscious energy inside of you being like, okay, that's something that, you know, is going to help me live my life on my own terms. And, you know, that kind of ego, heart center energy was coming in there. And I love that you've been able to refine that and come into it in true pure alignment and really help other people with it. I'm curious to just ask you, with helping people decondition around that realm and really helping them feel more worthy and open to accumulating wealth in your life, what are the first things that you like to offer to people if they're kind of wanting to go on that journey, or seeing if they need to do more deconditioning around making money?
Yeah, that's huge. Because first of all, not only do we have to give ourselves permission, we have to follow our desire for what we want to create. And what we want to create is going to require that we have more money. We're not going to get away from it. And I remember when I first found that I had the money line, I was like, wait, I don't have, like, I was broke when I left nursing. I was like, I don't even know I'm going to pay my house payment. But I remember thinking, like, if I could just figure this out, if I could help one other person, not be afraid to just go do the thing they want to do, then I've done my job here. Like my dharma is complete. But what I did was I got very clear on what my life that I desired was. What is it, right? And it's not, $55 human design, even 300. You're going to still have to pay taxes on that. You still have to live. You still have to, I live in California. Like I still have to pay for my daughter to live here, right? Like you still have things you need to do. And so it's kind of it's one of those things where you have to learn the truth about what your current situation is. You have to give yourself permission to imagine a life of what you desire. And then you kind of have to build yourself there and be realistic, but opportunistic. Like knowing that anything is possible. I mean, in this world now, when I was brand new, I was seeing that people were doing bigger things and making more money. And I thought, wow, if I could just have a piece of that pie, I would be fine, but I couldn't do it with $55 human design chart readings because there was overhead, there was taxes, there was, my livelihood. There were the things I wanted to create. So a big thing I think, especially for women, is giving ourselves permission to want more, right? It's like one of the things I say all the time is make what you want what you need. So what I did was I was like, all right, if I'm going full time into this business, I need a housekeeper, right? I need my groceries delivered. I am not spending time at Costco for 3 hours, right? I'm not going down 45 minutes to the Costco gas station when I could go across the street to Arco, right? I'm not wasting my time. The real resource here is time. How can I give myself more time and have my money support me doing that? And I did that from the very beginning, right? And so, because again, I had nothing to lose. So I was like, I'm going all in. And when I did that, the universe rose to support me in continuing to do that. It has happened over and over again. Like I go against a lot of what people say in the space of like, well, make sure you get to a certain level of income before you hire someone. And right in the beginning, I was like, yeah, I can do my own social media, but do I want to? Oh, I don't want to. Can I give myself permission to bring somebody on and maybe take a little bit of this off my plate? And I did that way before six figures. Like I was thinking that way and acting that way before it was like my real current reality, right? Like, so I kind of had, I think human design and the gene keys really give us an edge on identity work. Like I didn't realize at the time that I was jumping timelines and like becoming a different person with every decision. But that's exactly what this work allows us to do, is say, wait a minute, hold the phone. It actually takes me, more than $10,000 a month to actually live the life I want to live. And I deserve to live the life I want to live. Like, period. I don't need to apologize for it at all. And it was funny because there was a moment where before the money was coming in, where I was moving into this identity. But I remember I was taking a walk and I was like, we could not have been put on this earth to work for someone else to make all the money they make, but for us to just barely scrape by. I thought, okay, today's the day. Money doesn't have more power over me than my own decision-making authority. And that was it. It was like, boom. From that day on, I have never allowed money to be the reason I make a decision of yes or no. I've actually been just tuned into my body, and I've allowed, what I believe happens is when we really connect with our authority is we're accessing our higher self. And the higher self is saying, go, do the thing, get the thing, have the thing, right? But I think women mostly, I mean, I have seen it with men, but women mostly, we just keep ourselves a little smaller, because if we want more, then what are other people going to think? And what if we're too big? And what if, who cares, right? So I just decided really early, like, no, I need to make what I want, what I need. And what I need is these little things that are going to help me be a better me,
Wow. Yes. I'm like, it's so interesting because I feel like human design teaches you so many and Gene Keys, like, so the identity piece that you're talking about, but that instruction to access your higher self and to access your authority, right? And be able to make those decisions, it just takes out so much more than like what could ever be, like all of the confusion, right, that is taught in our traditional business schooling or marketing and how you make money and exactly what you're talking about. It's just so funny because in Dana and I's journey, we've just used our human design with building our business. And it's like so many people who've come in later or whatever, they've asked like, oh, this is, how did you know that this was the right thing to do? Or how did you, start doing this strategy that has like some name? And we're like, we just used our design. Like, I have no idea what you're talking about. So it's just so fascinating to hear your story and your experience with doing that same thing, because it can be that simple, right? And I do think that the courage and the confidence to be certain, right? That certainty of choice, of what you've chosen, and not having a plan B. I do think that's such an important part of when we're talking about manifesting, right? Like what you're saying with choosing that, okay, there's no other option but this to pay my bills and be successful and show up for me. Like, I'm not, gonna put some eggs in that basket, but not all of them, just in case it doesn't work out, right? Like, you're creating this split in energy. So it's just really interesting to kind of look at when you're talking. I'm just thinking about so many moments in my life where I've just had such certainty, no plan B, and because there was no other option but it to work out, it worked out.
Yeah. It really taught me a lot about the energetics of money. And there's a lot of stuff, everyone has a different take on it. For me, it works like if I there's like a balance of masculine and feminine. So there's a level of conviction, go, action, right? All aligned action, which is way less than I was doing before. Way less.
Totally.
But then knowing you've done enough and allowing the money to come in and support you. Period. And you say certainty, and it's funny because a lot of the clients I work with, they really want to know, like, when's it going to happen and how's it going to happen and blah, blah, all these things. And this is the beauty of this work, is the less you know how, it's almost like the more certain you are, because you build, it's this feeling inside your body that is like, there is no other way. And as long as you know how to respond in that moment, you're going to be given the next how, the next step, the next way, which builds that trust over and over and over again. Like in the beginning, I was getting child support and alimony from my ex-husband, and my higher self told me, you need to tell him you're not taking it anymore. And this is like, I'm like, what are you talking about? So I waited a full 4 weeks to take action on that one because I was scared. I was like, well, how am I going to pay my house payment? I don't even know what I'm doing right now. And she just said, trust me, it's not in alignment for you to be taking that any longer. And so I called him and I said, listen, I'm doing this thing, because I hadn't told anybody. But I said, I'm doing this thing. I just, don't let me go live in a car. Just please don't let me go live in a car. But from now on, I'm not taking any more of that. And within 3 weeks, I made $22,000. And I ever since then, I'm just like so grateful that I decided to just follow that, like into the unknown. But I was so certain in that moment of, I'm supported. I don't know how I'm supported. I just know that I'm not to be making my decisions based on money ever again. And that has served me, and it served my clients amazingly, like over and above.
Wow. Yeah. That's incredible. I love all of these examples. I feel like are so powerful. I do want to ask you about your sacral authority, because Dana and I, both being projectors, we do not have a defined sacral, and we don't know, like, we obviously teach about using your sacral authority, but I'd love to hear your experience with what it feels like in your body and guiding you moment to moment, but also with big decisions.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. This is such a good one. So the way it works for me now is it really is a before my mind can do anything, if something comes into my aura space, like I'd say within my house space, right? So within about 9-10 feet. If some opportunity comes my way, I can feel my body just kind of open a little bit. And I'm like, there's almost like a pull. And I'm always like, let me go check that out. Or let me go see that thing, right? If there's something that comes into my space that is not for me, or maybe I need a little more information to respond to, I can feel myself kind of lean back. And that's really the first thing. I feel my body move or lean back. And then once I find out a little more information around what's going on and how it could affect me, then I'm always cluing into about right above my stomach is where I'll feel like it feels like a burn, like it's like heat. And then as soon as I know for sure, it takes over my whole abdomen and I get like chills on my arm. And that for me is 100% yes.
Wow, I love it.
When it's a no, I don't know that I want to say I contract. I always keep an open mind because I know that the mind can close you down pretty quickly. But I'll always just ask for more information to give my body just something to work with, you know? I don't know if that helps.
Totally. We love hearing the felt sensation of these energies. We just think it's so interesting and helpful. And, you know, everyone's body, I definitely feel, has like a slightly different language or maybe a different way that they'll describe it. But to hear someone's felt experience of what that feels like, it gives me chills to hear it because you could just feel how much it resonates in you as your truth. And I think it's really helpful for people to hear. And, you know, something so interesting about the sacral. So my husband's a manifesting generator. Shayna's husband's a generator and her daughter is a generator. So we have a lot of sacrals in our close circle, in our close life. And as two projectors, it's fascinating. Like, honestly, the thing that I care about more than anything is all the sacrals in my life being lit up and aligned. Like, I literally don't give a shit what I eat for dinner. I literally don't care where we go. I literally don't care if we go on the weekend trip or not. I actually care that my husband's sacral is aligned. And because if it's not, he also has channel 5 to 15. So that when he's off rhythm and off beat, it really impacts me in a negative way. He's just such an energetic leader in that sense. But it's just so fascinating. Like, we love guiding the sacrals in our life to be authentically aligned and to do what's right for them. And I can't tell you how many times, like, even all of these years later, my husband will be like, I feel like you're tricking me. I'm like, no, I'm not tricking you. I really want you to tell me no if it's a no. Right. And he's like, are you sure? I'm like, yes. Like, that is what makes me happy because it brings so much aligned, positive energy into my life for his sacral to be lit up. And then I'm amplifying his sacral with my undefined sacral. So it really matters to me. Like, I want this healthy sacral in my house. And I don't want a unhealthy sacral. And it's just so interesting how it creates so much symbiotic energy in our lives. Like, when he's lit up, so many more beautiful things come into my life, so much more energy, positive energy. And, you know, it's reframes that whole idea of like being selfish, like in such a beautiful way. You start to see that you don't need to worry about that. You don't need to micromanage. If I do something that's right for my sacral, will it be right for the people around me? Right. Like, you tap into a higher flow. And what you were saying about following your authority really guiding you to connect with your higher self, I really feel that also following your inner authority connects you to like divine order, where things are harmonious. And that's a huge, beautiful reframe about life, because I feel like we're so taught that if everyone is doing what's right for just them, that there's going to be chaos. We're going to be all moving in different directions. There's going to be so much discord. And that's why we feel this pressure to homogenize. It's like we want to have collective peace and togetherness. And so we we sacrifice ourselves. We turn away from what we really want in this not self place in the name of that. But when you're actually following your inner authority, to see the way that it just creates harmony, even if you're eating a different meal from your partner that night, like you would think that that would create discord, but instead it's like, oh, thank God, this feels so good. This is what I wanted to eat and that's what you want to eat. Great. We don't need the tension. We don't need the friction. We don't need the meaningless fight over our meal. You know, we can just follow what's real for us, and to see the harmony and the energy, the positive energy that is created when in that space, like it's really beautiful to witness.
Yeah, you know, that's the other thing about this is it's going to be inconvenient for other people.
Yeah.
Like my energy is not always convenient for everyone in my life.
Right.
And so that's hard for women.
Right.
Because we want to be convenient for everyone. And so this is a new paradigm of living life. But like you tell your husband and he's like, are you sure? Because we're just conditioned to be like, I don't know, I need to think about everyone else but me. But really, when you think about you, you're allowing everybody else to be them. So it's not always going to be convenient. There's sometimes I have gate 29 and there's sometimes some things I commit to and I have to call my son. I'm like, well, I just committed to this thing. And he's like, all right, here we go. Right. Because maybe it's not all that convenient for everybody. But I know the power of my commitment, you know?
Yes, I love it. And speaking of gate 29, you and I share the same birthday, August 18th. We are both cross of contagion. We are born on different years. So I'm a 2/4, you're a 1/3, different times of day. You're a manifesting generator, I'm a projector. But I feel such a resonance with you being another cross of contagion, being another gate 29 sun gate. And I just love getting to meet other people that have those similarities and that resonance. I'm curious to ask you, how has it been for you with the contagion energy and owning that, and embracing that? Yeah. How does it feel? Like what was your journey with it? And how did it feel when you discovered that?
Oh my gosh, it was so funny. So when I first found out what cross of contagion meant, I started playing with it. And I would just like bring things up that I was really excited about in front of my family. And I would literally see every one of them like turn to me and start talking to me more excited. And I was like, wow, like that, they felt that. They felt that. Everything that I do in my business, I have to be this kind of energy about. I have to be this bought in, like this, oh my gosh, guys, we've got to do it. And I can sense when, like, if someone will say, hey, well, I think we should do this and launch it this way. And I go, I can sense when something's not going to go well because my energy, my contagiousness isn't behind it. Mm-hmm. But the things that I am just really passionate about, I attract people like you guys who are just as passionate. And we have like similar like ways that we use our language around it, right? Like it's a divine order, it's divine connection, it's higher self. It's like, this is our soul's way of connecting us with the people who are on our aligned path, who make our lives so much simpler. And it's it's easy for me to be, hyper about something or excited about something. It's easy. When I'm not into it, you probably feel the same way. When you're not into it, it's like a no. It's like wah wah.
Yes.
Like that girl on Saturday Night Live. It's wah wah. We don't want to hear that.
Yeah. Yeah, there's no faking it for me. And also I just love enthusiasm. I love the energy of just when someone is lit up, when someone's passionate, when they mean it down to the core of who they are. And of course, that's my energy that I'm sharing out in the world. And I love seeing it back. And, honestly, even with Shayna, that's one of my favorite things about her as a friend before we got into human design, before we became business partners was, she just has this passion for life that I was like, yes, girl, that is what I'm talking about. And, that enthusiasm has really been such a fire, a fuel in our lives.
Yeah, it's funny. Recently, I've been saying to people, I swear I'm not a salesperson for this. So many things, I'm telling my in-laws.
Yeah, I'm not affiliated, but
yeah. Well, affiliate links so look really good for us, by the way.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I literally everything in my life where I'm like, oh my gosh, I just got this new Amex and I love it and da da da. I'm telling my in-laws all about it. And I'm like, I'm not like, I should work for Amex at this point. Like, I should be getting paid, but I'm not. I just like this card. And it's just, the passion is there for literally every single little tiny thing. But I love the contagious energy. I love being around it. And, it's that like wild, like things catching fire, right?
Yes.
In your life and in everyone else around you, and just seeing it spread and seeing the magic there. It's so, so beautiful. So I wanted to ask you, what are you really excited about right now? What contagious energy are you spreading? And what's your favorite way to work with people? So kind of like in the same zone, but that's like 3 questions, right? 2 maybe?
Yeah. Well, what I'm really behind right now is my deconditioning method. So my deconditioning method was actually like, I call it like a divine download. Like, it was definitely not a Danielle that created it, but if I look back on everything that I've done in my life, I've used this method. It's called the paid method. So that's the thing I'm really behind. And it literally, it does what it says it's going to do. It gets you paid. And I tried, you know what, you guys, I don't know if we're ever going to really get rid of this ego thing, because there was a part of me that was like, no, there's other things we can do. But as soon as I got behind this paid method, like, whoa, the doors opened up. So I'm really excited about the paid method, because I'm seeing it's not just working for me. It works for everyone. And when I really dialed it in and figured out how it was working for everyone, then I got really excited about it. So I'm really excited about that as far as my business goes. As far as what we're doing behind the scenes, I mean, I'm not going to say too much because it's not fully done, but we are looking at acquiring a property here, which will ultimately be another arm of the business. So we just have a lot of like deconditioned stuff going on here. You know, the deconditioning is, I'd say, I don't know, you have to tell me what you think. I'd say it's the hardest part of this, because there's a moment when you do up level where you actually question, like, can I really leave this behind? Is this really not me? And when you just decide to leave it behind, like, it's that simple. It's just deciding to leave the lower frequency expression of yourself behind with compassion. Thank you. It brought me to where I am. I'm moving on now. Just that is like a door just opens for all these other opportunities. So that's kind of what I'm living in right now, where my contagious energy has kind of sprung me. Like, I think since I talked to you, like, this has all happened in the last couple of months, where I'm just like on this total manifesting generator, like snowball effect right now with everything that's going on over here.
I love it. Yeah, I wanted to ask you, has it been easy for you to allow yourself to expand and pivot and add different things in? Like, has there been like levels of that for you, or did it feel like right from the beginning, like, all right, I'm letting myself roam free in anything that I'm wanting to expand towards?
Yeah, in the beginning, it was very much, I'm going to go for whatever I want, right? But then once I started to see the success and I had more people working with me, and I felt like a little more responsibility for my clients, and I think I hit a little glass ceiling, and I was like, okay, I don't know how to get over this glass ceiling. I think I held on to one offer way too long. And I also hit perimenopause last year. And that's another thing. I'm going down that rabbit hole now, because there are so many women who are aligned, right? They are working in alignment, but then they hit this hormonal change in their life, and now all of a sudden their bodies are really fatigued, and the brain fog comes, and there's all these things that happen that are really hormonal adjustments that we could mistake for misalignment. So I got kind of caught in that for a little bit, where last year I was like, wait, am I completely out of alignment and I've missed all these right turns? Like, what happened? And I just kind of was like blocked. I would call it blocked. But I went back into this work, and I was like, okay, no, let's go back to the basics. The foundation is, this is who you are. Whatever whatever level you think you're at, Danielle, because again, we're all human. It's not as big as our mind makes it to seem. Like it's not like I've millions of people hanging on my every move, but it feels like that when you're not used to it. So I got really clear on, okay, I got to get my hormones and my body figured out. And then I need to go back into my life and my business, and I need to say, what is like a leak of the not self? Where am I even just mildly frustrated? Because now at this time in my life, I have like no tolerance for anything that is even remotely a little annoying. So I think there was a moment, I think it was about 9 months, where it kind of hit a glass ceiling. My body was like, I call it like I feel like I was going through some kind of like an upgrade over like 9 months. I got back on track, and then I up leveled, and then the up level came. But there was a moment, like I don't think, and that's what I tell my clients. It's like, it doesn't matter. You could have a glass ceiling at $1 million. You could have a glass ceiling at $100,000 a year. It doesn't really matter. It matters where your conditioning has been sent or where you feel that the most. So everyone has a different level where they're like, I don't know. Is it really possible that I could be this successful? Like that I could really have it all? And I think that kind of hit me last year. Mm-hmm. And once I just kind of got over myself and anchored back into like the foundation, then it seemed to just kind of like rev back up again, if that makes sense.
Totally. I love that. And I feel like it's such a good reminder, because that conditioning, that growth is linear. You know, it's just not the way that life is. Life is cyclical. Life has octaves. Life grows in a spiral. And so, you know, when you are living your strategy and authority, you are so empowered, your life changes, things really do shift. But it doesn't mean that your life is going to be perfect and you're not going to experience any challenges or any surprises along the way. Like, you are still here to grow and evolve, and up levels sometimes take a challenge, a roadblock that you have to move through and process. And so I love that our strategy and authority and going back to the basics can always be such a profoundly healing tool that is always accessible to us. And I think it's also really helpful to remember that just because you're living your strategy and authority doesn't mean that there's not going to be challenges along the way, but it does mean
100%.
that those challenges are going to help you become more of who you are. And I always say, like, that there's a huge difference between a challenge that derails you and, you know, a misaligned challenge that brings you further into not self and off of your path versus a challenge that catapults you and up levels you into the next level. And you'll run into those challenges, which are ultimately really a positive gift when you're navigating life in alignment. So I love that reminder. And it's so fascinating. I want to learn more about hormones and our experience following our inner authority connected to that, because it's a really fascinating conversation that I feel like has not gotten enough, you know, insight around life experience being shared. There's not enough like scientific research, but we've been talking to some of our friends that are generators, and they're really attuned to their sacral, like really listening to it. And they've shared with us that they noticed when they had a hormonal IUD years ago, it actually was really blocking them from feeling their true sacral energy, and that they would sometimes feel a lack of energy, but it wasn't actually from their sacral, you know? And so it just kind of created a murkiness that made it more difficult to connect truly with their sacral energy. And that's like, wow, it was like mind blowing to me to hear that. I'm like, we need to know more about this. We need to be, you know, looking deeper into this. And of course, all of the hormonal changes, you know, even having a baby, being in postpartum, like these are huge changes that ultimately are a part of the human experience. And I know can live in tandem with your journey of alignment. But it is very interesting to hear about that experience and how that was an up level for you, but it also was a whole, you know, new change.
Yeah, it was like a whole reevaluation. You know, I think it was just a new season I was going into in my life and my business. But I'll tell you, like, I know the day that my hormones shifted. And I got through perimenopause in 11 months. Takes people 10 years.
Yeah.
Wow.
What?
So talk about MG's bend time. I can go into that in a minute. You said cyclical and season. I'm like, oh, you're on my wavelength, because last year when this happened, I literally, like the next day, I told my son, something's up. And he said, maybe you're going through that change that a woman goes through. And I thought, there's no way. I went home and I went, nope, that's what's happening. I know that I figured that out because I had been living in alignment for all those years before. So I was really tuned into what felt like me and what didn't feel like me. And then I knew when I like busted through that or kind of like moved into what was now my new normal, I know what that feels like. So there's not a lot of guessing. But before I even did human design, following my authority was how I got off of antidepressants after 20 years. And that was a total wake up for how that disconnects you from the energy that you've got trying to guide you. So it served me in so many ways. I thought if I would not have been in alignment, I don't know what kind of mess I would have gotten into. All of a sudden hitting perimenopause and being like unavailable for any bullshit. Like, none.
Wow. Yeah. And we say all the time, like, even when you're getting into the really deep and rich layers of your chart, like you're getting into your PHS and your diet and your environment, and you know yourself with so much specificity and detail, that level of awareness, it on one hand is subtle, like day to day or moment to moment, but on the other hand, it's massive. It's huge. Like, first of all, I feel like people can feel it in your aura when you're that clear in your awareness and that authentic. I mean, you just radiate on another level, first of all. So people do feel it in a really big way, even though moment to moment, day to day, there's kind of like this subtlety of knowing yourself that well. But when we have these big major life experiences and we get to bring that awareness into that experience, it definitely transforms the experience. And you hear a lot of people who don't have that level of awareness, and they go through these major life transitions, no matter what it is. Maybe it's losing a partner or something like that. And it can really make the navigating that experience a lot harder when you 100%. Don't have the awareness, when you don't have the connection to yourself. And so it's so worth it to do this work and to be the observer and to really get to know yourself on these deeper levels, because in this example, you get to see like, wow, it's like amazing how much more easily, like so much more harmoniously we get to navigate these experiences when you have that level of awareness of connection to self.
Yeah, you guys were talking about, people were asking you, well, how did you do that? How did you know to do this with your business? Isn't it interesting how when you're in alignment, all of a sudden you can figure all those things out?
Yeah.
We don't need anybody to tell us.
And people go, it was so quick. And it actually, it can be really quick when you are that connected. In the moment, sometimes it feels like this is taking forever. It's been 6 months, which is not a long time. But, I feel like there can definitely be, for us with success, in the beginning, it's like, why aren't we gazillionaires already? But when you look back at it, people are like, how did you do this so quickly when you're so young? And it's like, that alignment piece, that guidance, it really is such a fast forward energy. But of course, when we meet manifesting generators, well, one thing we share in common as projectors and manifesting generators is our love for efficiency and our ability to make things efficient. But I mean, coming to it sort of from different angles, of course, energetically. But yeah, I'd love to hear your experience being a manifesting generator and making things efficient, time bending, fast forwarding the momentum and motion of life. Like, I'd love to hear your insights on that and your experience.
Yeah. So I just recently figured out what I was doing when I quantum leaped, which was, how they say MGs can bend time? Well, I was like, this is what I've been doing. So I can make this a repeatable process. So what I do is, first of all, I respect every minute like it's $100,000 bill. And I mean that. And I'm not perfect at it, but when I'm serious about what I want to manifest, I get really clear on what I'm spending my time on. And I actually use my calendar to block me off, right? So I have where I've committed energetically, I've committed my time, I've given my word to the universe that this is what I'm doing. And nobody distracts me from that, right? So that's the first thing. An MG has to learn about distraction. You have to stop getting distraction. Everyone calls I'm an MG, so I'm all over the place. Sister. First, you have to be one place and learn that one place really, really well. So you know your energy and what actually is a true, change your mind moment or what's actually just a squirrel, we need a dopamine hit kind of conditioning moment, right? You have to know the difference. So I got really clear on that. Then you can bypass time. So once you kind of do the good girl work of like, this is how I'm going to spend my time, and universe, I promise I'm going to do these things, then it just starts to go faster. So for example, I'll just give you an example. I wanted to pay off, oh, this is a good one. I got a $150,000 tax bill from that major year. And I thought my accountant was like taking care of that stuff. No, it lands on me. And I was like, wow, I guess this means I've made it. Now I got to figure out how to pay this thing, right? Well, they set me up on some 3 or 5 year payment plan. And I was like, no, I'm not having to deal with that. So I wrote down very specifically what I wanted. Again, I gave myself permission to want what I wanted. And I said, okay, this is what I think it's going to take for me. I wrote that down too. And then I set up my calendar to like mirror how, as far as how my offers were working, how my business generates revenue. I set up my calendar so I could see that. And I thought, oh, we've got about maybe a year, maybe at the most 18 months. I paid it off in 9 months. And that's because I respect time. So I don't waste a lot of time in squirrel moments or distraction. I use my time very diligently. And the other thing about it, MG, is we need our sleep. Like, we have got to plug our battery back in every night and start our day fully charged, period. Like, just because you can do all the things doesn't mean you need to or should do. Like, your energy is so gold. You have to focus it on the things that are actually moving the needle. And that's how I think I bend time, is because I respect time. And so time just kind of does this for me. So I call myself, like, I know how to quantum leap anybody, and it works for any energy type, girls. Seriously,
Wow.
It works for any energy type. It's not just MGs. But I realized you said, I forget how you worded it, but you said time is cyclical.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, moving in a spiral. Yeah.
If we are to, so I just looked at my journals 2 weeks ago when the eclipse was. So not even 2 weeks ago. And I looked at my journal from last year at this time. I was doing the same thing with a different, like, because we're looking at getting land. I was doing the same thing with a different property. I was doing the same thing. So if we're to be really, people say, oh, I hate journaling. But I'm like, guys, it's such a pattern reader. If you were to journal and then look back on your journals, you can see your patterns. You can see the things that are coming up to be healed over and over and over again. And if you just know you're going to come into a season where this is the thing you're going to need to heal, you can be on it and efficient and like recognize it before the full moon. You'll like know. Like, I know it's coming because I'm on this pattern recognition journey with my energy. It's bananas.
I know. I really like to do something similar, but I like to, looking at what house you're in astrologically throughout the year.
Oh,
and knowing like, okay, like we know for our business that in January-ish, Dana is in her first house, and that's always when we are planning a retreat or a retreat's happening or an event is.
Who do I want to be in this new cycle? Like, all of
There's
that.
always a lot of movement
Restart.
there. Like, let's get shit done in a Dana way, which is in-person retreats, community gathering. And then for me, it's in June. And always around June, I am like, okay, what are we launching? What's, going on with our online business or our office or our physical products or, all of the things that I'm super passionate about. And that I bring to the table are just like on fire and going and taking action on. And then I know like every September and into October-ish, I'm always in this place of wanting to work on my body and get really healthy and exercise and focus on my home a little more. And so looking at the different houses has been so helpful because it's like clockwork every single year and every single month. It's like, oh, okay. So I know, even though right now it's September, I'm like, it's November. That's because I'm just planning so far ahead right now. But right now it's September, and I know that we're probably going to have a retreat in either January, February-ish, but we haven't planned it or done anything for it or making it happen. Like, I just know it's going to.
Yeah.
So it's so helpful. But I love
Isn't
what you're
it?
talking about with time being our most valuable resource and really respecting time. And I definitely, I would call that my CEO side, that like I came into, with DayLuna from my background, but I have that, I've always had that respect of time over money. And it's something that I think would change everyone's lives
Oh
if
my
they could
gosh.
really just see that them wasting time on things that are no's for them, or giving their time away to things that don't even matter. There's
Yeah.
so many people just doing things just to do them, or getting sidetracked, like you were talking about the squirrel, right? On things that are not even important to them at
Yeah.
all. And yeah, if you could think of every minute as $100,000, like if that's where your value is, right? And you're giving that away to what? Like,
Instagram, or yeah, it's like it really puts things in perspective, doesn't it?
yeah.
Right? That's what I mean. Like, that's why I stopped going to Costco and waiting in a 45-minute line to get gas, because I saved, I don't know, 10 cents a gallon.
Oh
I
my
just
gosh.
I just
Yeah.
started making little shifts like that, and I realized that I ended up getting way more done, and I had way more time, and things happened faster for me. So it wasn't like I reprogrammed my subconscious, maybe, but what I did was I actually used the resource that actually is the most valuable thing, and my energy, which making decisions and taking action to do the things that are in alignment, stopped doing the things that weren't in alignment. And what do you know? Like, I hit my goals, like, I would say in half the time, because I do give myself, because I do work with a team. It's like, okay, can we have like a couple of weeks notice? So I do try to do things like that. But when it's on, man, it's freaking on, and it always happens like in half the time. I would say that's happened
Yeah.
over and over in my business.
Yeah, yeah. And I can't tell you how many people have, even to this day, are like, that's crazy, or like, that must be nice to be able to Instacart all your groceries, or have a housekeeper, or, the things that I'm like, no, this is saving me time. And they're like, well, that's just not where my values are. I'd rather have more money in my bank account. There's so many people who in my life have judged that so harshly.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, in the same sentence, they're like, how did you make this amount of money? Like, how do you have this much success? And it's like, because my time is precious. It is
Yeah.
gold. And me being able to have a comfortable conversation with someone versus like a rushed conversation because I got to go run all these meaningless errands, like, it's just not worth my time. It's
Yeah.
just not. And so it's really interesting how so many people can see that like in day to day, but then not be willing to actually treat their time as precious to get that worth out of it, right? Like
Yeah.
we say it's like putting the cart before the horse, right? Investing in something before you actually have the proof or the support or the finances. You have to kind of put that thing first to be able to get the benefits out of it. So I love all of these little, like, throughout this conversation, you've just said so many little nuggets that are like, yep, we've done all those things ourselves.
Yeah.
And also, if you're listening to this and you're like, yeah, that would be nice, but I just can't, like, you can always feel that way about anything,
Yeah.
right? Like, if you can just get certain or just experiment and say, okay, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to start from this moment forward treating every minute that I have as if it's the most precious thing ever. And if you can say, I'm just going to dive all in with this thing that I know my authority is telling me is right, and I'm not going to have a plan B, like, literally it must happen then. Like, your
Yeah.
belief has decided that this is going to happen, and it will.
Yeah.
So if that's you listening, this is your permission slip or your sign, like, decide. right now and do it.
I mean, what I did, because when I started, like, I literally didn't have any money. So I didn't even have room on my credit cards. It wasn't like my parents, or nobody's giving me money. I literally had no money. And so when I decided, when my higher self's like, you're starting a podcast, and she told me for 2 years, I didn't listen. I'm like, I can't do the tech. I can't, it frustrates me. I can't do it. I decided to hire a podcast producer, and I was not making any money in my business. So I thought, I don't know where the money's going to come from. Within 8 weeks, it paid for itself. So it's like, can you just make that decision? And can you just trust that you're going to show up and that you're going to have the energy and the stamina and the faith and the courage to be able to show up for yourself just in a little bit of a different way than you ever even knew was possible? Because I promise you will never let you down when you do those things. Now, it's a different thing if you're just like going out and throwing money at things, like charging up a bunch of shit, and you're not going to show up when you're called. And that's the difference. It's like, I know when I'm called. And maybe that's the thing is when you know, and I think everyone, if you're listening, you know if you're called to something. Having a calling doesn't mean it's going to be sunshine and rainbows and confetti all the time. It doesn't mean that. Was it hard to do that? Yes. Was I scared? 100%. But what was more scary and kind of, constricting was not following that. I'd just gotten to a point in my life where it was like, no longer. So everyone has that threshold. I'm not going to say, go do it now for everyone, but you do have a calling that you have to follow. You're not going to get out of it. Yeah. So why don't you learn to trust yourself in those moments where you're like, oh, I don't know, how are we going to pay the podcast team this month? Like, I don't know how we're going to do it. Like, why don't you just see who you become?
Yes, I love that. And honestly, I feel like what you're saying right now in this is actually very connected to wasting time, wasting your life. Like, I feel like there's so many people that are just afraid to take the risk. They're afraid to go all in. They're afraid that maybe they won't know how to show up or that the universe won't meet them there. And so they kind of check out and they're like, well, how do I waste my time? I better turn on a bunch of movies and I better stay really busy and I better have some drama with my friends so that I have something interesting to do because I'm not living my dharma, right? And it's like, I really feel like every single person has this really special dharma, and that gets to be the drama, I put in quotes, in your life. Like,
like that.
In a good way, like, can I do it? I'm following my dreams. Like, this is what I'm thinking about when I go to bed at night. This is the thing that I'm showing up for. And I feel like it's such a high vibe, exciting, like if you're the plot of your own movie, you're the main character of your own movie, and that's the storyline. That's the drama that we're following. Like, it's just so exciting to get to choose that in your life. And there's a million excuses of why to not choose that. Like we've been talking about, there's a million ways to get distracted and waste your time so that you don't have to answer that call. And, for people who are hearing this conversation and maybe they've already answered that call or they're feeling like, I want that in my life. I want that purpose. I want that success. I want that alignment. It's empowering to know that it truly is just a choice. And, when you're in alignment and then you make that choice, like you can shift into this different space, this higher timeline, this symbiosis where you get to live your passion, your dreams, and help other people and be successful and empower them to be successful. Like that win-win universe and that excitement of becoming the character that that your soul came here to play in the movie of life. I feel like it's just like so exciting and the honor of a lifetime to get to do that. And, meeting people who are on that path, it's always really a great reminder that all of us get to be that main character in our movies. We just have to make the choices. And of course, there's so many tools that can help us feel empowered on that. But of course, all of us here, it's like human design and gene keys are the only tools that you'll ever need. And, there's so many that we add to, but it's like, it's just like, I can't imagine talking about bending time and quantum leaps. I'm like, how long would it have taken us to get where, we were going if we didn't have these tools. I mean, I feel like we ultimately probably would have gotten to a lot of the same places, but it probably just would have taken me so long. Like even in my relationships, how long would it have taken me to understand my husband just through observing? And like, I feel like I would have gotten there, but I'm just so grateful to Quantum Leap and to get so much more value out of my time here as me in this lifetime, by having these tools that are like the cheat code, the fast forward button into a Quantum Leap.
Yeah. I mean, the two things I want to say, because you said most people are afraid. I noticed that in it when I first started working with people, it kind of like, it like made me so sad.
Yeah.
Like how afraid women are to just like even set a boundary, or
right. Or say
or
no.
to be like, yeah, like just say
no, thank you.
So
and like,
don't
why
be
is
that
that
person.
terrifying? Right.
And I realized like, okay, really what they're afraid of and what we're all afraid of at some level is it's all going to work. It's all going to work. You are all going to be successful. And then what? You don't have to worry about anything. You don't have any limitations you have to fight for. You like a whole part of you doesn't need to really exist. So there's one thing, is that's what I've noticed, is like, really, you can say you're afraid of failure, but you haven't failed because you're here. You're still here. But I think we're mostly afraid of, what do we do when it works? Like, can we hold it? Can we trust ourselves? Can we be there? And then you said something else, and I lost my train of thought. But what were you saying right at the end there?
I was talking about having the cheat codes and it being like a fast forward for figuring relationships out.
Thank you for remembering that.
Yeah.
So do you guys remember in the beginning, I feel like I bypassed a lot of what most people kind of struggle with in the beginning of their business. Like, I need an ideal client, and, I need this, and this before I can actually go out and, make an offer and get paid. Did you guys?
Right.
I bypassed all that.
Totally.
So when I was in, different coaching rooms and stuff, and I was like, I'm not having the same problems they're having. Like, I'm not doubtful about this or worried about this or wondering if this is the right thing. So that, I think, is where we bended all that time, is we just kind of trusted what we were being shown and how we were being guided and went with it. And then, of course, the universe has to rise and support that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I feel like a lot of things, we were getting invitations to, give readings and all the things. And we're like, oh, we have to like create a website so someone can buy it. Like that, we were having so much forward energy, or even like going in for like a year, and then people would be like, where's your bio? I'm like, oh, we never even sat down and wrote a bio because we literally didn't need one. So we ended up kind of like refining those things later, because we never had to sit down and be like, okay, how do we want people to see us? Yeah. What is the thing that we're just being us. And and we're finding the right clients. We're finding the success. We're finding the invitations are finding us, And yeah, I definitely, it's so interesting to talk to another person who's created their business this way too, because so often we're talking to people who are not human design people, but they've created a business, and they just come to it from such a different lens. So it's really cool to hear your experience, mirroring our own so much. And I'm just excited for all of the people that all of our community members that to get to come work with you and learn more about deconditioning, about really opening up to that space. So I'd love to hear if you could share with us how people can find you, how people can work with you.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I first have to say, girls, I am just so excited that we met and we got in touch, because you're right. There aren't a lot of people who are doing business this way. I mean, I think there will be more soon, but it really is a breath of fresh air for me. So thank you for having me, first of all. So, okay, where are all the fun places you can find me? Well, I'm on Instagram at the Danielle Eyman, but I think everyone loves my podcast, Wealthy and Aligned by Human Design, and that's on anywhere you can find podcasts. And right now, like I said, I'm just so stoked on this paid method. So I actually trademarked it. It's called, my offer is the get paid. So you get paid. Get paid. That's the offer. Get paid. And for the longest time, I was only working privately, or it was like a really high ticket way to get paid. But now you can join a group. So we're moving into where we're growing and scaling. And so that's really exciting, because I can work with more people and we're still seeing the same results. So that was really fun to see. So get paid, and the podcast, like the podcast they're like mini master classes. So that's, come check me out. I'd love to say hi to you.
I love that. And I love that model of group sessions. It's so fun and yep, just as expansive, and honestly maybe even more because you're being amplified by everyone else around you.
That's a good point.
Yeah, and getting to witness them, and also they're getting to witness you, and that's just creating even more magnetism and growth. So that's really cool and exciting. I am here for that get paid method.
Yeah.
So awesome. I can't wait to check out more. And yeah, thank you so much for being on here and just sharing your wisdom and your sparkly, juicy energy. It's just been such a pleasure to have you.
Oh, thank you both so much. I mean, it's an honor. I just love you both.
We loved that conversation, and we hope you did too. I feel like we just got to go so deep, and anytime we get to have these conversations about human design and about what it looks like to live authentically, we just feel so inspired, right? It's so beautiful to think of a new world that we're all moving into as we understand these energetics about ourselves and we're living life on purpose. And honestly, it reminds us of how excited we are about our Human Design Besties membership. It's just a space where we get to go deeper and meet every single month with our Human Design Besties in ceremony. We have live Q&As. We just get to have these conversations about our actual journeys, give each other support, learn new stuff about human design. We share human design mini courses and tappings and meditations. It's just a space where we get to do that embodiment. And that's the work that we feel the most excited about right now in this podcast, in the work that we're doing with DayLuna. So if you want to join Human Design Besties membership, you can do so on our website, daylunalife.com. That's where you can find all of our offerings, our reader training, our new course about all of the 64 gates and gene keys, which is so exciting. It's one of our courses that has been the most highly requested. People want to know about the 64 gates of the human design chart in a way that is tangible and grounded, but also memorable. Like, how do we really apply this to our lives? So we have this new online self-paced course where we dive into all 64 of the gates and share our insights, the way that we talk about it, the transformation that you go on, and we share the meaning of this corresponding 64 gene keys so that you can get that deeper, poetic, transformational understanding of how you can move from the shadow into the gift, into the divine expression or city. So we're really excited about that. Once again, you can check that out on our website, daylunalife.com. And as always, you know where you can connect with us on Instagram at DayLuna. And we hope that you have a beautiful, aligned, juicy, lit up, magnetic rest of your day. Thank you for tuning in with us today. If you like this video, be sure to like and subscribe to follow along and learn more about human design.